on intellectual traditional knowledge, intellectual property, and people's rights. So today, Madam will talk about the how we can protect our traditional knowledge. Am I right, ma'am? How we can protect two aspects of our traditional knowledge protection. One is positive, another is defensive. So TKDL is itself a good tool to protect our TK. So with ma'am's experience, we'll see. Then we request all of you, please mute yourself because everybody has that authority to mute and unmute. So please do that and help ma'am to complete the session. Then we will come back to question answer session. Please do that. My humble request, please make sure your side is mute. And let's start with mantra. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Pranam ma'am, over to you, please.
Thank you. Namaste to everyone. At the outset, I would like to apologize for all the confusion that has been created from our end. Truly sorry for the inconvenience. So basically, for unforeseen reasons, although we had planned a particular schedule, we are making some changes here and there. Today's session had actually been, planned for the fourth day, but because of the availability of some of the speakers, we had to make this change, and this is happening for the first time. So I'm truly sorry. I think next time we'll be a little more, aware of how things would pan out, and we will not cause this kind of inconvenience again. So today, as Piyush mentioned, we will be talking about. Can people please mute yourself because it is causing a lot of inconvenience to us? Yeah. So today's presentation, we will be looking at the protection of traditional knowledge. Actually, the way we had planned this workshop is to kind of give you a glimpse into the Indian knowledge systems, traditional knowledge expands, and then talk about the intellectual property rights so that, before we get into TK related protection, we wanted to give you an overview of what we mean by the intellectual property rights. Of course, I see many of you come from very good and sound background, so you would be aware of the intellectual property rights. Nevertheless, I thought I will make an attempt to at least give you a brief before we get into the traditional knowledge related protection aspect. So when we talk of intellectual property rights, they had been created more from an industry point of view. In fact, they are called the industrial rights as well. So when we talk of the intellectual property rights, typically coming from the science and technology background, we have patents. Patents are for, again, when we talk of intellectual property rights, everything is through law. Okay, so these are all legal provisions that are given as rights to the creator, the inventor, and similar such people. So when we talk of the patents, it's for inventions which are novel, which are meet the inventorship criteria, and then which have an industrial applicability and application. So the patents, when the rights are given to the inventors, it is for 20-year period, and these are generally are not renewed. It is only for a fixed 20-year period from the date of filing. So when we talk of patents, as I mentioned, it's typically for any inventions, largely scientific and technological inventions. But then there is another side which is talking about the literary and artistic works, right? So it could be music, it could be a painting, it could be even a photograph that you would have taken. So these kind of creative works are protected as copyrights. And again, these are all legal provisions, as I had mentioned. And the copyright is typically for a 50 to 60-year period, depending on the region. The author's lifetime plus 50 to 60 years, depending on the jurisdiction. Then comes, trademarks like you take Coca-Cola, you take Pepsi. These are all trademarks. So these provide a branding to a particular product. Again, these are legal rights, and it would help in, distinguishing particular products and as well as services through that particular trademark. It is a brand name. Then comes the industrial designs. Industrial designs are again legal rights. We're basically covering the 2D and 3D aspects of articles. Again, typically when you go for an engineering design or even a box, which has a 2D aspects to it or 3D aspects to it, these are all protected through designs. And trademarks, designs and all are for a 10-year period and can be renewed either for 5 years or 10 years, depending on the framework that has been made available. Geographical indications are again legal rights for products which has a particular connection with a geographic location and the country or other countries as well. So the typical examples are, the Darjeeling tea, and Kanjivaram sari. It covers handicrafts, it covers agricultural products, and even that Navara rice variety has been given a geographical indication. So here the difference between all the remaining and the geographical indication is that typically when we come from universities and research organizations, you can apply for patents, you can apply for copyrights. Even softwares are protected as copyrights in our country, industrial designs, trademarks, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to geographical indications, a typical researcher would not be able to file a geographical indication because it has to come from the particular knowledge holder or the producer organization, the community that makes the particular product. So we can only be facilitators to enabling the quality specifications, the product specifications for the geographical indications. Again, this is for 10-year period and can be renewed subsequently. Another very important intellectual property right is the plant variety protection. So we have what is called the plant variety and farmers' rights. PPV, Protection of Plant Varieties and the Farmers' Rights Authority, under which the plant variety protection is enabled. So it is registry of plant varieties, and also here it includes even the farmers and the breeders' varieties as well. A seventh aspect of framework of the intellectual property right is the semiconductor circuit design, and which has not been covered in this slide, but these are all the general intellectual property rights that can be given to any specific, creative work, invention, and so on and so forth. And as I mentioned, these are legal rights. So if in case I'm granted a patent or a copyright, I become the legal owner of that particular work or an invention, and I can claim monopoly with that particular invention or the creative work. So it kind of gives me a legal ownership to the subject matter that we consider. So how does all of this translate into traditional knowledge? As we all know, traditional knowledge per se has no, accepted international definition, but going by the World Intellectual Property Organization, we know that traditional knowledge is knowledge, know-how, skills, practices that have been developed, sustained, and passed on through several generations within a particular community. Sometimes these are part of one's culture or even a spiritual identity. So what does traditional knowledge entail? So it contains both intellectual and the intangible cultural heritage. And as we just mentioned, it contains the know-how, practices, knowledge systems. It could be from a particular individual or communities. And typically it is also called the indigenous knowledge. Sometimes it is the knowledge of the local communities and so on and so forth. And what it generally covers is agricultural knowledge, scientific and technical knowledge. It can also cover the environment and ecological knowledge, medicinal knowledge, and even the cultural expressions, several of it. So where do we find all this information? So yesterday in my presentation, I had mentioned that, we have text, we have manuscripts, we have the rock inscriptions, we have
Ma'am, you are muted. Could you please unmute? Oh. Ma'am, yes. We request all of you, please don't push mute all button. Please don't do that. Astu, please, ma'am, carry on.
Yeah. So as I was telling in yesterday's presentation, I talked about, different sources of information. It could be text, it could be manuscripts, it could be rock inscriptions, it could be metal inscriptions, the Kanka paintings, and so on and so forth. So these all become the secondary source of information related to traditional knowledge. And of course, the diversity in terms of the languages, the accessibility to such information may vary. Nevertheless, this is all of this information has been passed on through generations, and it becomes a part of our heritage, as part of our cultural heritage, as a part of our traditional knowledge as well. So, in addition to that, I also gave you examples that it need not be limited only to these ancient classical texts. It could be in today's research articles, part of the books, and all that. So, everything that is covered as part of our traditional knowledge will become a source of information to that knowledge. And why is the source important? Because when we talk of the intellectual property rights, say I gave you an example of patent, right? So the first criteria of a patentability of any invention is the novelty of it. So how do you assess novelty? That is something which is new, which is not known before. And which is not known before, you should have a source of information that it is not known before. And the secondary sources become very important. Another important aspect of traditional knowledge, in which I mentioned yesterday, is the oral traditional knowledge. So when we talk of oral traditional knowledge, the source of information is the primary source of information, because here we are talking about individuals, we are talking about communities, we are also talking about certain families who hold this knowledge, and they pass on this knowledge from generations to generations. I think there is somebody who has opened their mic and it is causing. Yeah. So let me get back. Please do not unmute yourself. It is causing a lot of disturbance. So here, when we talk of the primary source of information, we need to make sure that the person who has this knowledge, the custodian of that particular knowledge, are respected for their rights, and it actually is part of, often part of their livelihoods as well. So when we talk of, this information as to why traditional knowledge, source of information becomes important, we realize that what happens with the books is that it provides you information in a more succinct format. And although today we are worried that several of these ancient texts are out of print and out of copyright, and sometimes it is found in libraries, perhaps in a very bad shape. Nevertheless, it's a very important source of information, especially for the work that we do, like in the traditional knowledge digital library. And today, all of this information, be it in whichever format it is, it becomes very important because we have a focus on the Indian knowledge systems, even in our national education policy and as well as in the national intellectual property rights policy. So another very important source yesterday that I did mention is the manuscripts. You might have all heard about the Gyan Bharatam mission under the Ministry of Culture being done by the National Mission for Manuscripts. They are digitizing manuscripts. In fact, they go from place to place, digitize manuscripts, and they store the microfilm so that the digitized information can be preserved, and our manuscripts, even if those palm leaf manuscripts, even if they go bad, we still retain the original information that has been captured as part of our heritage. So this is a important source of information. In fact, why the Gyan Bharatam mission is doing quite a bit of it on this front, there are still several manuscripts that are lying in unknown collections and perhaps as private collections within the families. And whoever is willing to contribute to the country through the Gyan Bharatam mission and even otherwise, like the councils of the Ministry of Ayush, they collect all this information and then they provide this information as source of knowledge to for R&D and other purposes as well. I think again somebody has unmuted them.
I'll take her, a voice called from the street. Grace Thornton, who owned the diner on Route 66.
I would request whoever is not interested, you can
Yes,
please
done.
leave the
I found
meeting.
it.
Yeah, but do not cause disturbance to the others because we are taking a lot of efforts to make sure that we convey whatever little we know. So as little disturbance as possible would be truly appreciated. So now coming back to the source of information. So we have covered the secondary source of information. And as I mentioned, primary source of the information are the individuals or the community members themselves. And while both the oral traditional knowledge is available both in the rural and as well as the urban knowledge, the tribal population is known for, holding a lot of very valuable traditional knowledge. And India has a huge population of this community. And this indigenous or knowledge of the local communities is extremely important because very often they are found to be very valuable in providing sustainable solutions, be it biodiversity related, be it agriculture, be it medicine, be it even water conservation, and so on and so forth. So often, again, the concern here is that would the individuals or the communities be willing to share this information with the public? Okay, and that is something that we will be considering on the fourth day, where we talk about the people's rights and the ethics related to handling and working with traditional knowledge. So when we talk of all of this traditional knowledge, I started with the presentation talking about the intellectual property right. So the concern is that, or the question is that, why do we need to talk about traditional knowledge in the context of intellectual property right? Is it not enough that we understand traditional knowledge as part of our heritage, feel happy about it, value it for the, for the information that it provides, for the source of knowledge that provides us sustainability, provides for conservation of resources, and so on and so forth? So the answer is yes, we do appreciate traditional knowledge, but then why do we need to think about protecting traditional knowledge? Of course, the primary reason could be that many of our elders are passing away. This knowledge is no more of any relevance to the youngsters, and therefore we need to protect this knowledge from loss. But then there are different other aspects because when we talk, be it traditional science and technology that covers right from medicinal treatments to other agriculture and seed technologies to dairy products and fertilizers, architecture, metallurgy, whatever I had covered in yesterday's presentation and more. We also had the cultural expressions that we talked about, right from music to dance to folk theater forms and painting, sculpture, weaving, carpet making, and so on and so forth. The or when we talk of all of it, the question that typically comes is that who owns the traditional knowledge? Okay, they often, people say, yes, the communities hold that, oral traditional knowledge. But then there are other aspects such as prior informed consent. What about misappropriation? Do we need to think about attribution of this knowledge to the knowledge holders? Is it not part of our heritage? And what happens when this particular traditional knowledge or cultural expression is part of a spiritual identity, a cultural identity, and is it all related to the livelihood of the knowledge holders? And to many of it, the answer is yes, because we will get to see why we are talking about traditional knowledge in the context of the intellectual property rights. So again, I go back to the very first slide that I talked about in terms of the intellectual property rights. I did mention to all of you that when we talk of intellectual property rights, these are legal rights given as part of our ownership of that particular invention or the creative art form. If I talk of trademark, I am, holding the brand. Yes, similar such ownership exists with the designs and then the plant varieties and so on and so forth. So here the concern was that when India signed into the TRIPS agreement and we had adopted international norms of intellectual property rights, we also got to see that much of what we believe as traditional knowledge was also patented, and patent rights were given to third parties. Typical classical examples of what we call as misappropriation or biopiracy are those patents that had been granted on turmeric for its wound healing properties, basmati rice, which is again a staple diet of the northern India, the fungicidal formulation of neem, which is used extensively by farmers across the country and typically in South India. And of course, in recent times also, there have been variations of, our traditional knowledge which had been patented. So again, it comes back to the very basic question as, okay, so what? Okay, patents have been granted. Okay, so there must have been something novel about it. So when we had gone back to look into what the patents entailed, we realized that, there was nothing in terms of either the novelty or the inventorship. So here the concern was that the ownership rights have now changed. We as Indians are no longer the owners of our own traditional knowledge. This was not something which was easy to digest, and the only way to fight any patent grant, because it is all legal rights, is to go through a litigation. One would appreciate that when we talk of litigation, be it in any other way, the civil or criminal cases, it involves a lot of time, money, and also efforts. And that is what India did. We felt that we need to protect our rights on our own traditional knowledge. And so we went into a litigation engaging the advocates of the other countries. And here in this case, the US patent on turmeric was revoked in the year 98. So it took almost 3 years to fight the patent and have the revocation of that patent entirely. And then came the basmati rice. We fought it strongly. And in the year 2002, out of the 20 claims that was mentioned in that patent application, which was granted, 17 were cancelled, only 3 were allowed. But in the case of neem, it took very long time, close to about 11 years, because while we were very fortunate to have recorded prior art information related to turmeric for its wound healing properties, especially from Ayurveda and similar such sources, and so was the case with basmati rice, there was not much of recorded information on the fungicidal formulation of neem. And one would also appreciate when we talk of fungicidal activity, bactericidal activity and all that, perhaps we do not have terminologies in our traditional knowledge that would have concordance to these modern terminologies. So the challenge was very high, and this was fought by Dr. Vandana Shiva from Navadanya NGO, and she fought it, and it took 11 years to find the Dean case. The USPTO did not revoke the patent, but the European Patent Office revoked this patent on Dean. So this concern still continues, because I have put in one example more from recent times about the skilta, which is a bamboo or cane product that is used to collect agricultural produce, especially by the tea farmers or even in the hilly regions. So there was a company that had created a polymeric kilta, and they said it had better ergonomic properties.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, we lost last 1 minute. We lost you. Could you please unmute yourself?
Somebody had removed me from the meeting.
Yes, yes, yes. We request all of you, please don't do anything. Please.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, sir. Can we make only presenter to ma'am only, because this is causing too much of disturbance?
That's in the image team. I talked to the people. So that is not possible right now. We can do later. I talk to them. Asto, please don't unmute yourself. We request all of you. Ma'am, please
Yeah.
proceed.
So
Sorry.
as I was telling, yeah, so the example of the skeleton, the polymeric material, and it mimicking what is already traditionally known. So there was a litigation filed in the Himachal Pradesh court seeking revocation of this particular patent, and it took almost 13 years to find this particular patent because the company kept on arguing that it had an inventor's strap that it offered a greater what do you say, orthopedic results compared to what the traditional bamboo basket would offer. But the court heard it and they said that, it does not involve novelty or inventorship and it is something which falls under traditional knowledge. And so the patent got revoked. But it kind of teaches us a lesson that, we can't take things for granted because in today's world, global competitiveness is extremely gaining greater prominence rather than ethical aspect. So we need to be mindful of what is called biopiracy and misappropriation of traditional knowledge. And what do we mean by misappropriation of traditional knowledge? This is about, gaining exclusive IP ownership rights, as I had just given examples, the turmeric for its wounding properties, basmati rice grains, neem for its fungicidal activity, and so on and so forth, where it concerns traditional knowledge. And this is, seeking this IP ownership for profit. So when it relates to genetic resources and biological resources, and this wrongful exploitation is also termed biopiracy because it does not offer any kind of benefits or compensation to the concerned communities or the indigenous population. So we need to be mindful of what we now call as misappropriation of traditional knowledge. So this brings us to the main aspect of what we have been talking about in the context of traditional knowledge. The two very important terminologies, that is defensive protection and positive protection. So when we talk of traditional knowledge, cultural expressions, and even grassroots innovations, they may not be to the extent that, one would desire in terms of what we today call as, patentable subject matter, because these all relate to something which has been known, which has been helping us with sustainability and conservation of resources and so on and so forth. While it is useful and valuable to our life, it may or may not entail a very high commercial value. Nevertheless, the rights, the ownership rights to our own traditional knowledge is extremely important. And that is where we bring up the two aspects, that is defensive protection and positive protection. Defensive protection is a strategy wherein we provide traditional knowledge as a source of information so that third parties do not get illegitimate rights over the traditional knowledge or the cultural expression or even the genetic resource associated with it. But the more important thing, especially in the context of oral traditional knowledge and the rights of the people, that is the knowledge holders, be it individual or the communities, is the positive protection. Positive protection can come in, through any sui generis legal system. But here the importance is that it not only provides the knowledge holders rights to protect their knowledge, but it will also provide rights to promote their traditional knowledge. Rights to promote their traditional knowledge. Yeah, so then, we then come to understand what is defensive protection. Can somebody, whoever is unmute, can you please mute yourself?
Saiji, could you please mute yourself?
Yeah, thank you. And please, we will open up the presentation, the platform for questions later. Until then, please.
मैडम ठीक चल रहा है मैम, आप कंटिन्यू करिए जी, अच्छा आ रहा है प्रेजेंटेशन।
Okay, thank you. So yeah, so when we talk of defensive protection, as I may had mentioned, it is about making information of our traditional knowledge available as a prior art information. So what is prior art information? It is about literature which is already known and which is in the public domain prior to a particular invention being filed for its patent rights and or even copyright and so on and so forth. So here the defensive protection is either through these texts or through databases like what we have in the traditional knowledge library. So for example, the central councils under the Ministry of Ayush had created a compendium of traditional tribal medicine. So they have recorded tribal knowledge. So this becomes a source of a prior art information. A database like, as I had mentioned, the TKDL or even that of the ICMR talks about the ethnomedicinal plants of the Western Ghats. The Ministry of Tribal Affairs is also creating a record of, a digital repository of all tribal knowledge, including information of the tribals. So this is all information that has been, provided as literature. So that patents, when applications are examined, this serves as a prior art information and patent should not be granted. When we look at the medicinal plants database from the National Medicinal Plants Board, even this is a database which is searchable. It contains information of about 7,200 botanical names in many different vernacular languages and names. And it also has images of the plants. And it has also been arranged by the system of medicine, for example, Ayurveda with about 1,540 species, Siddha with 1,149 species, Unani, homeopathy, so were required also folk medicine. In fact, folk medicine, as I had mentioned, is the largest of the lot because there are a lot of tribal populations and even many of these Vaidyas who maintain a lot of these traditional knowledge which has been orally passed on from generations to generations. So this now becomes a source of information wherein you can go search, see whether this information is already available, and then decide about filing a patent application if something is novel and meets the inventorship criteria. Another example is from the TDU or the FRLHD, which is called the ENVIS Center on Medicinal Plants. This has been done in collaboration with the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Even this is a database that has information of about 7,600 botanical names, and it contains a lot of vernacular names because very often, you connect it by knowing what the particular botanical name is known in a particular system of medicine or the local languages. So this is information that has been provided. You also have NGOs like the Honeybee Network that have also put together different databases. For example, the Honeybee Network from Gujarat, it contains information of medicinal plants, and there's a lot of information that has been captured by the Honeybee Network. In fact, if you go look at it and then search for it, it provides you not only information of a particular medicinal plant for human use, it also provides you information on the veterinary use of it, and sometimes on, the plants have been treated as medicine for treatment of plants. It's called the Berkshire way. So even such information has been captured in such databases. So before we think about, doing research, we can search such databases for prior art information, see what is known, what needs to be validated, and how innovation can come in from such sources. And then think about going ahead for filing a patent application if in case it meets the patentability criteria. So far, I have touched upon different medicinal plants. Yesterday, I did mention about agriculture also. So while agriculture is there in the classical texts like Krishi Parashara, Vriksha Ayurveda, and Vishwavallabha, and many others, you also have the traditional indigenous knowledge from the communities, the farmers, and so on and so forth. And this has been captured by the Indian Council of Agricultural Research under these 7 different volumes, with some of them validated. But then there is so much more information beyond what has been captured that can still be documented and preserved and protected. So now I come to the main aspect of the patents and what is patentability. So typically when we talk of patentability, I did mention there are three important criteria, that is novelty, inventorship, and industrial applicability or utility. So if in case your invention meets these three criteria, the patent examiner, besides other formalities of inventorship and other legal formalities, so they go ahead and grant a patent application. So in light of what we had seen as misappropriation of Indian traditional knowledge, what the government of India had done is to bring in a section that talks about inventions which are not patentable. So the Patent Act of 1970 got included with a particular clause, that is section 3E, wherein an invention which in effect is traditional knowledge, which is an aggregation or duplication of known properties of traditionally known component or components, cannot be patented. So what does it all mean? It's a lot of English. So I'll give you a very simple example. Say I'm, have, say I'm, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
so when I have ginger, amla, and say turmeric, okay, and I mix these three ingredients for a particular indication for which individually so for individually, they are known for a particular ailment. Okay, by mixing these three ingredients, I am creating a novel formulation. So then, why the novelty might say that individually these three have not been mixed for this particular ailment. There could be other concerns with regards to the patentability. That is, the aspect of inventorship. So as I had mentioned yesterday also. What is important about the inventorship is that the invention should be having a technical advance or an economic advance over what is already known. That is on the prior information. What does it actually mean in very normal terms? That means if the new formulation should have can you please stop this? You're disturbing me so much. I'm not able to continue because of this frequent interaction. Please maintain discipline. This is all for imparting whatever little we know about the subject matter and sharing our little knowledge on that. A little lesser disturbance would help us. So when we talk of this, as I mentioned, the three ingredients comes the important aspect of, inventorship. So the inventorship has, as I mentioned, not only the technical and economic advance, it also has a statement that says it should be obvious to a person skilled in the art. So what does this, obviousness mean? So if in case, say I'm from Ayurveda, my colleague is also from the Ayurveda fraternity, and I prepared this three-herb formulation and say that, this is a new formulation that I have created. So my colleague might just tell me, oh, what is so novel about it? These three ingredients are known for this particular ailment already. So there is nothing new about it. So it actually defeats the entire aspect of the inventorship, and the patent examiner would decide so and not grant a patent. But by mixing these three ingredients in a particular proportion, I say either I reduce the toxicity or enhance the effectiveness of that particular formulation for a particular indication. That could entail a lot of experimentation to arrive at that particular single proportion, which is providing me either synergy or reduction in the toxicity. Then in that case, I can go back to the examiner and tell the examiner that I meet the criteria of inventorship because this is not obvious without doing the experiments. So the patent examiner may take a call on granting the patent rights to me on that particular new formulation. So this is how the whole thing works. But then again, the point is that, how does a patent examiner know what is traditional knowledge and what is not? So in the context of the Section 3B, the Government of India also established the Traditional Knowledge Digital Library, the TKDL, in the year 2001. And this is based on the misappropriation cases that I had just explained, the turmeric case, the basmati case, the neem case, and many similar ones. So what we do here in the traditional knowledge digital library is it's a para database of traditional knowledge, of course, but the value add that we provide in terms of connecting traditional knowledge and the modern terminologies is the USP of this traditional knowledge digital library, along with the structured architecture, database architecture. So it enables us to use uniform terminology, standard terminology, so that one would be able to search and identify the relevant information from our traditional knowledge in the context of patent applications being filed. So the primary objective of the TKDL that was developed is to prevent misappropriation of Indian traditional knowledge, to prevent biopiracy of Indian traditional knowledge. We started with the Indian systems of medicine primarily because of its commercial value. Especially, there were a lot of patents that were being filed in the herbal formulation arena, be it medicine, be it cosmetics, or even the FMCG products. So we started with Ayurveda, added Unani, we added Siddha, we added yoga practices. We also started looking at Sovarikpa, which I mentioned as the Tibetan system of medicine being practiced in the northern Himalayan regions of our country. So we provide this information in English, French, German, Japanese, and Spanish, breaking the language barrier, breaking the format barriers. And so far, the database is rich with about 5.2 lakh formulations and practices from these different systems of medicine. So as I mentioned, the data architecture is key to, is the USP of the traditional knowledge digital library. So we create the whole thing using the traditional knowledge resource classification codes, so that it provides structured and standard information to it. Am I audible, or have you lost me?
Yes. Ma'am, you are audible. There
All
was
right.
some.
So the government of India, based on the value that we provide through the TKDL, gave us permission to provide access of the TKDL to patent offices through non-disclosure agreements. There are 18 patent offices that have signed this non-disclosure agreement. So the patent offices use the TKDL from patent application examination purposes, so that they identify prior art information of our traditional knowledge, and based on the evidence that is presented in the TKDL, they may raise an objection to the patent applicant, and depending on the responses and author's actions thereof, a patent grant will be made, or patent application will be rejected or amended or withdrawn, depending on the case. So far, we have been able to get about 375 plus outcomes in terms of either the patent rejection, revocation, amendment, withdrawal, or abandonment of the patent applications. So this is how the TKDL database works. We look at the different systems of medicine. Recently, we started adding agriculture and metallurgy from the Indian traditional knowledge. It is a very structured database. The USP, as I mentioned, is a data architecture through the traditional knowledge resource classifications, providing for uniformity and standard terminologies, connecting traditional terminologies with modern terminologies, and so on and so forth. So the different languages that our traditional knowledge entails is now broken, and this information is provided as transcripts in English and the 4 other UN languages. So this is all that the TKDL provides, and the information that we provide in the context of the TKDL is, what is the process of the formulation, what does the composition entail. So we talk about the botanical name of it, the traditional terminology, be it Ayurveda or Unani. In this case, it is Unani formulation. We also mention the local names where possible. Sorry. We also mention which part of that particular plant is used for the formulation. If in case the metric measurements are available, or how much part of that particular plant material is used, we mentioned that. We mentioned how is that particular formulation prepared, for what it is used. Here in this particular case, this is more of a decoction for gargling. And if in case there is a dose mentioned, we mention the dose, or we mention that it has to be, a physician needs to be consulted, and if the process of it. So, and then most importantly, as prior art information, especially for offices like the USPTO, we have to mention that this prior art is also already available in publication. So we'll have to provide the reference, the bibliography of that particular book, from which we had given, along with that picture of the prior art information. So this is how the entire, information in the TKDL is captured. The USP has been explained. And what TKDL also provides is, comparison between the different systems of medicine. Say, for example, I talk about nutmeg, the common name, and the botanical name is fragrance. It tells you how it is mentioned in Ayurveda, what is it mentioned as in Unani, in Siddha, what is it mentioned, Suvarikpa, what is it. So similarly, like that, you would be seeing that, wherever there is information, it provides you information from that particular system of medicine. So this kind of, a digital platform where we are able to compare the different systems of medicine and understand the complementarity of the different systems of medicine as well as the distinctness of each of it is possible only because the traditional knowledge information is being given in a very structured way and through a digital platform. Similarly, in the previous example, I talked about botanical names. Here I talk about the disease names. So again, we mentioned what the English name is. Sometimes we also define what it is, by the modern medicine. How is it, defined in Ayurveda, Unani, and so on and so forth. So this digital platform enables one to understand the complementarity, the distinctness of each of the systems of medicine from the country. So today, the traditional knowledge digital library, which is the first of its kind, is one of the largest traditional knowledge digital libraries in the entire world. We're covering about, of course, we focus largely on the books, codified traditional knowledge. We covered about 696 books from the different systems of medicine and as well as yoga, covering different languages and different formulations and practices. While we started with only a herbal formulation, in recent times we have been able to add many other aspects related to the traditional knowledge, be it the purification methods or the properties of the ingredients, the therapies like marma, panchakarma, and so on and so forth, surgical methods, dietary intervention, and so on and so forth. And in August 2022, the Government of India, understanding the value that the TKDL provides, has also given approval to widen the access of the TKDL to all users. We are working on the framework. I know I've been telling we will open it up soon, but it is taking a little more time at our end. So based on the TKDL, as I mentioned, the primary objective of the TKDL has been to prevent misappropriation of Indian traditional knowledge. While the patent officers access the TKDL and they are able to raise, objections on the patent application being filed, we from the TKDL unit also filed what is called as a third-party observation of pre-grant oppositions based on the patent applications that are filed in the particular domain. So this is a manual exercise that we do. We select applications from these different patent offices, compare the patent application information, invention with what we have in the TKDL. If in case we find a prior art information which is very close to the invention for which the patent rights are being claimed, we file an opposition. And all of this happens before the patent is granted. So it is called the pre-grant opposition or third-party observation. This allows us to avoid litigation process. And by this, we have been able to get favorable outcomes, as I had mentioned, either patent applications are refused or amended, or the claims are amended, or the applicant himself might either withdraw or abandon the patent application based on the TKDL evidence. So the 375 that I have mentioned in this particular slide are all the positive.
Ma'am, you are muted. Could you please check? Someone did it. Ma'am, you are not audible. Could you please check? Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I got locked.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, please reshare your PPT once again. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Could you please
So
make
as
it
I
full
was,
screen? Yes.
yeah. So as I was telling, this is a particular example of a patent.
Oh, you are muted again, ma'am. You got muted again.
Please don't mute me because there is some issue now with the system because it unless I stop sharing, it is not allowing me to get back to the MS Teams platform. So please do not do anything. Just hold on to your patience. I will complete it very quickly. Uh, yeah, you are able to hear me, right? And you are able to see the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this particular patent application from Rupak Enterprises, what we had seen is that it has a similar kind of information from the traditional knowledge digital library, wherein we found that the source of information, that is a plant name, and also the ingredients had been mentioned. So we had cited this particular TKDL evidence and sent the other party grant opposition to the Indian Patent Office. The patent examiner had taken cognizance of it, and then they talk about the specific chemical constituents and the proportion and all that. So based on that, they felt that the application is not satisfactory, and the objections were raised on that one. So based on this, application was refused for the patent grant in the year 2018. So this is how the TKDL evidence comes into place as a defensive protection of Indian traditional knowledge against misappropriation and piracy. One another example is about a patent application filed by an individual from Katragada, India. It talks about the Tecfurcia purpurea leaf extract, and he had mentioned it for many indications. One of it is the chronic diarrhea. So what we had seen is that this particular information has invention has relevance to our traditional knowledge. So we identified the different TKDL evidences, and again, once again, filed a pre-grant opposition with the Indian Patent Office. Again, the patent examiner took cognizance of it, and in this particular case, the particular claims were rejected, and the rest of the application was allowed for grant. But then the application by the individual was abandoned, and this is how we see a positive outcome through prevention of misappropriation of Indian traditional knowledge. So similar such efforts have happened based on what India had produced for the first time by the Taiwan under the traditional Chinese medicine. Of course, the TCM database has other information, especially the omics related information, and it is not similar in structure to the Indian traditional knowledge digital library. Similarly, the Korean traditional knowledge portal also has information on the traditional knowledge related subject matter from Korea. Again, they connected to articles and many other, including prescriptions that are being recorded in the old documents. So this is the kind of information that the Korean traditional knowledge portal provides. Philippines has created a traditional knowledge digital library on the traditional medicine. Similarly, Malaysia, Thailand, and many other countries also had created. So all of this information is information of traditional knowledge as prior art, so that we would be able to take care of the defensive protection of traditional knowledge related to one's country. But the larger concern is on the positive protection or the protection of oral traditional knowledge. So many of you would be aware that we do have the National Biological Diversity Act. The National Biodiversity Authority enacts the Biological Diversity Act in the country. So under the National Biodiversity Authority, you have at the village or panchayat level what is called the Biodiversity Management Committees, and they prepare what is called the People's Biodiversity Register. So this information in the People's Biodiversity Register contains information related to biological diversity, but they also contain information related to the traditional knowledge associated with such biological resources. The important aspect of our Biological Diversity Act is about the access and benefit sharing. So information contained in the PPR would also enable access and benefit sharing, as the Biological Diversity Act stipulates norms for access of biological resources and as well as the traditional knowledge related to the biological resources. So largely, this 2.7 lakh PPRs have been documented. They have been in the paper form. So the NDA is now transitioning from the PPR to the ePPR. So when we talk of the defensive protection of traditional knowledge, of course, the advantages is, as I had mentioned, it prevents the erroneous grant of intellectual property rights. So it provides for a defensive protection of our traditional knowledge against misappropriation. It helps us to preserve our valuable heritage, and also wherever like the PPR, we would also be able to identify the knowledge holders. But of course, the concern is that would it, when we are providing such kind of value added information, by opening up the database, would it be triggering more misappropriation? When we are including oral traditional knowledge, we need to make sure that the rights of the people are respected. So prior informed consent, was it taken? Should it be an open database or control should be given? So is that the access would be controlled, and who will be the custodians and the owners of it? How do we maintain confidentiality of unclosed traditional knowledge, and how do we safeguard such information, especially when we talk of genetic resources and the DSI, digital sequence information? One need not access the physical material. So how do we take care of all these aspects? So then comes the positive protection of traditional knowledge. Of course, in our country, we do not have any sui generis legal system for protection of traditional knowledge per se. But then again, the challenges is that when we are talking of positive protection, we know that traditional knowledge is not novel. So it is sometimes a living tradition also, and it is not associated with a particular individual or a particular community. There could be multiple communities in the country knowing similar kind of knowledge. And especially in the context of intellectual property rights, would any of these intellectual property right frameworks be applicable to provide for positive protection of that traditional knowledge? So then we only have, indirect methods of protecting. So as I had mentioned, geographical indications do provide for protection of goods, the products, not the traditional knowledge per se, but the goods as geographical indications. It's an intellectual property framework. Industrial designs also, there have been, you take a Varley painting. Today we have Varley painting as a clock, as maybe a watch, or maybe as a mug. So these industrial designs have been protected. Creative forms, especially translations of the older works with a commentary that provides for some creative aspect of it, poetry, and you take Ramayana, the newer formats, where there is a creative work, added to a known subject matter, can be copyrighted. Farmers' rights, this is something, a sui generis system that is very, very unique to India, wherein we protect even the farmers' varieties and so on and so forth. But the most and very important aspect of protecting traditional knowledge in the context of biological resources is the National Biological Diversity Act, which has been amended in 2023. The Biological Diversity Act, as I had mentioned, stipulates norms for the access of not only the genetic resource, but also the traditional knowledge associated with it. So results of research cannot be transferred without approval of the NBA. You cannot take intellectual property rights without the approval of the NBA. And of course, the most important is the People's Biodiversity Register, which is again a confidential register which provides for the records of the genetic resource and the associated decay. You also have other indirect methods like the forest the Scheduled Tribes and the Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Act of 2006 that provides for protection. But when we talk of protection of traditional knowledge at an international forum, we need, because national laws have limited applicability when we talk of a global population, especially when we talk of intellectual property rights. These are not just national provisions, these are international provisions. So the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, is looking at protection of traditional knowledge and cultural expressions through an appropriate framework. So they had formed what is called the Intergovernmental Committee, IGC, on Intellectual Property, Genetic Resource, Traditional Knowledge and Folklore. Discussions have been happening since the year 2001. We have not yet come to a convergence other than a recent treaty, which I'll be talking about. Here, the concern or the objective of it is not just the codified traditional knowledge, but also the oral traditional knowledge, so that it helps to empower the communities and the individuals associated with the traditional knowledge. It provides means for promotion of the traditional knowledge, and it also provides a control on the access and commercial exploitation, especially when we talk of misappropriation. So consent becomes very, very important. And also, if we have all of this, it would help enhance research and development and come up with something which is innovative, again, inspired by our own traditional knowledge. So the recent treaty of WIPO, which was enacted in the year May 2024, talks about, whatever we have been doing with the TKDL, especially to enhance the efficacy, transparency, and the quality of the patent grant, especially when the inventions are not novel or inventive, with regards to both the genetic resource and as well as the TK associated with the genetic resource. So here, what is critical under the treaty is that there is a disclosure requirement. Disclosure on the source of information of the genetic resource and as well as the traditional knowledge associated with it. So if in case, you don't know the source of information, it also allows for, disclosing that and certifying that through a declaration. But primarily, they are looking at, that the applicant discloses the source of information of either the GR or the TK associated with the GR. And most importantly, again, in the context of what we have been doing in the country through the TKDL, the treaty talks about information systems, establishing databases associated on the traditional knowledge and the TK with the people's in consultation with the concerned people, be the indigenous peoples or the local communities and other stakeholders. And this can be made accessible for the purposes of search and examination of patent applications, so that we, and improve upon the patent grant systems and prevent misappropriation of Indian traditional knowledge. So this provides for more defensive protection while being a little enabling towards positive protection of traditional knowledge. So this is all that I have got for you today. Let me stop here and then take questions.
Pranam ma'am, बहुत धन्यवाद. There was a lot of disturbance. Sorry for that.
Okay.
So, ma'am, give me 5 to 7 minutes to complete the assessment. We request all the participants, please complete the assessment. We are sharing the link in the chat box, and we are going to upload in the Google Drive link. 1 second.
Sir, please share in the chat box also.
Yes.
Sir, you can share at both places.
Sir.
Yeah, he will be sharing in both places, both the Google Drive and as well.
There's one issue. I joined very late because it got postponed, rescheduled, no? So I was not able to listen to ma'am's class in the beginning. So can I?
You will get to get the recording. It will be put on the IKS division YouTube channel, right, Piyush?
Yes, ma'am. And
yeah.
A link will be uploaded in your Google Drive also. Okay. As you see, the first day, yesterday's session is uploaded in the Google Drive. You can watch later and complete it. One second. Ma'am, is it visible?
Yeah, it is visible. Yes.
Yes. You can use this tiny URL that is very short, or you can, if you are using your mobile, you can use this QR code. Okay. So,
Sir, please, can you guide the one that how I can use this QR code?
so you can just type this link. For QR code, you have to use your Google Lens on your mobile.
Sir, the assessment link is saying that it is no longer accepting
Or just type
responses.
Type it. The first one is shorter. Please type.
Sir, please send it to the to chat box.
Sir, I have a question. May I ask? Hello?
I have also added the link in the chat box. So please, whoever is not finding it, make sure that you access it. Both Piyush and myself, we have shared that.
Ma'am, I have a question. May I ask?
Sir, please share it in the chat box.
पीयूष जी आप म्यूट पे हैं.
Yes,
Ma'am,
sorry.
you
So I
already
am
did.
sharing. Can you see in the chat box? I'm
Yes, sir,
sharing multiple times.
We can.
Please use it.
Hello.
Kindly share it in chat box.
I have been sharing. Can you see?
Yes, sir, I can see, but I cannot open it. It's not opening.
In that case, please use the shorter. You can type in Google Chrome or any other browser. Please copy and paste or type, whatever is convenient to you.
Sir, I had a question. Yesterday, I was not be able to join that session, and I
Please
couldn't
give
see
me
the
another
status.
1 or 2 minutes, then we'll discuss. Ma'am is here. We'll start Q&A session. Please give me
Sir.
another, give us another 2
27th.
minutes.
Sir, can we open as we opened yesterday? For 27th assessment, you have given
Don't
like
worry,
that.
please leave that. Please leave that and complete rest of the assessment.
Find
It is
it
okay.
in the chat box. I can't find it in the chat box.
Okay. I'm
Sir,
resharing once.
I have submitted that.
Pranam, sir. I have also submitted.
Thank you. Can you see in the chat box? I'm resharing the link again.
Pranam, sir. I have also submitted.
Sir, I have also submitted, sir.
Submitted, sir. Tamam.
There is a problem submitting, please. Please share the link. There is a problem with the link. Please share the link.
See, I have reshared in the chat box once again. Please check.
Yeah, the messages are coming again and again, so there is a problem. People are just submitted and everything.
Sir,
is just people
initially
are
I was not
updating the
able to
chat.
find it, but finally I have submitted
People are
it.
just messaging, submitted. So that's the reason we cannot get that message. Please request people not to submit. If it is submitted, confirmed, it's okay. Need not confirm.
Please don't write the word submitted. If you submit, please wait another 1 or 2 minutes, then we'll start question and answer session. Please don't write anything in the chat box. Please. If you have any question, please wait another 1 or 2 minutes. Then we'll start our Q&A session.
Sir.
It's not a robo wherein you are continuously sending messages, and though they are sending the link again and again, you are not even giving time to even look at the link. If you send 100 submits and the link gets moved up. How is it possible to do?
Sir, I have submitted. Can I leave?
Yes.
Excuse me, sir. I have submitted. Can I leave?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. There are so many messages, sir. The moment I'm trying to click on the link is up. People are still, yeah.
Please open your Google Drive link.
Google Drive. Oh.
Yes, it's also uploaded in the Google Drive.
Okay, so just.
Sir, hello. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. So can you hear me? Sir, I'm not getting the Google Drive link. Only we are getting the link of the assignment.
Can you
Hello,
see the
sir.
assessment QR code?
Yes,
Can you
sir.
see?
No, assessment QR code is not synced to me.
No, it is on the screen.
Can you read the tinyurl.com/mvb8ef6f? Can you remember it and type it? Small code mvb8ef6f.
Sir, can you please repeat once?
Huh?
Can you please repeat once?
Yes.
I will write it down myself so that I can write it down.
So even I'm writing now.
https://tinyurl.com tinyurl.com/ then code is mvb Have you written the code?
Hello, sir.
Okay.
Sir, hello.
Yes.
Sir, http://any URL and then repeat what's after second, sir.
mvb8ef6f. Please don't do that. You have your Google Drive folder. Please do that. So,
Yes, sir.
ma'am.
I tried opening. It's not opening, sir.
Everybody is opening. There are more than 500 responses. We have already received 500 responses. You are saying it is not open. We request
See,
you please
open the
check your
21st April,
device.
day 2 April, 21st April 2026 link.
Please check with another device from your side.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes. Yes, please.
Actually, from my device, the day one assessment link is not opening. Day one.
Day 1 will
Yes,
not
sir.
open. It is day 2. Today is day 2. You can fill in the assessment for today.
Can we submit the day one link also, ma'am?
No, time is gone, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Can we get the recorded video of yesterday's session?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, just one more thing. सर जिन्होंने कंप्लीट कर लिया है, फीडबैक फॉर्म सबमिट कर दिया है, असेसमेंट फॉर्म, तो सर क्या वो क्विट कर सकते हैं सर?
Yes, please. Yes, you can.
Thank you, ma'am.
We are only open for any questions, like if in case anybody would like to ask questions, we are open now. For another 15-20 minutes, we'll take up questions and then we'll also close it.
Okay,
Sir,
thank
is
you.
there any WhatsApp group of this workshop?
There is no WhatsApp group so far, and we have not created anything. It was only suggestions that was coming because many people found it difficult to find the link. So that was the reason they said you could have a WhatsApp. We have not started anything so far.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ma'am, we can slowly
Hello,
start
ma'am.
the Q&A session. Huh?
Yes.
Yes.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
I had a question. Ma'am, you had mentioned D3 and D4 in the Indian knowledge system where patents is concerned. What is D3 and D4 supposed to be?
Say that again.
Ma'am, you had mentioned D3 and
Yeah, D3 and D4 are the evidences that we document 3 and document 4. So it has some TKDL evidence that has been mentioned in that particular case. It's specific to that particular example.
Right, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir.
Please. We request all the participants, please raise your digital hand if you have any query and questions, then we can ask, or you may type in the chat box so we can pick up your question and try to answer.
Yeah, Dr. Pratik Singh,
Good
you can
evening,
go
ma'am.
ahead. Yeah.
Good evening, ma'am. Myself, Dr. Ravi Jain from Meds University, Raipur. I'm working in area of fashion designing. So I came across one of patent of draping of sarees in various form. So it's in Indian styles, but the pattern is taken from US in US pattern. So I'm also looking after working on that area that we have hundred of types of wearing of sarees in different ways. So can I also apply for patent in that way?
No traditional knowledge can be patented. You can share that link of the patent that you're talking about, or you send an email to me. We'll have a look at it. No subject matter can be patented.
So they have different type of wearing of sarees. They have someone
They
in that
must
picture.
have talked about something new, the invention. If you look at any patent application, there is a description, there is specifications, and then there are the claims. Okay, you'll have to look at what the applicants are claiming in terms of the patent rights. That is what becomes very important. As long as they meet the criteria of novelty and inventorship, that is how patents are granted. So please share the details with us and we'll have a look at it, please.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for your insight.
I think Dr. Pratik Singh had a question. So IKS is a community asset. Can it also be patented? What are the
Can we
Dr.
leave,
Partha
ma'am?
Sarkar,
If
can you raise your question?
Yes,
Because
Ganesh ji.
yeah, so IKS is a community asset. Can it also be patented? What are the criteria? No traditional knowledge can be patented, as I had mentioned. If in case there is a inspired innovation based on traditional knowledge, depending on the inventorship of it, the novelty of it, patent will be granted. But otherwise, no traditional knowledge in its native form can be patented. Yeah, with reference to an example on teprosia purpurea, if in case there's a novel dosage regimen that can be patented, yes, if in case it is novel and it meets the inventorship criteria, it would be patentable. It will depend on the patent examiner to decide whether it meets the criteria of inventorship. And if in case you're able to show through your data that you have generated something novel, something which has a synergistic effect or some kind of an advancement, the patent office would be able to grant you a patent. Can we patent any nanoparticles made up of any traditionally known plant extract? The answer is no, because nanoparticles are known unless you meet the criteria of inventorship and novelty with regards to its application. Your subject matter will not be patentable. So you will have to show all this kind of information in your patent application for the patent examiner to realize that you have created something new which is not known before. Because when you talk of nanoparticles, there are known, subject matters that talk about the efficacy of nanoparticles. If it is yours is a mere kind of projection that a particular nanoparticle of a particular a plant material will cause this kind of an effect, your patent application will not be granted a patent right. It has to show, as I keep mentioning over and again, it has to show novelty, inventorship, and applicability, meeting the criteria of inventorship, especially if it is from traditional knowledge. In fact, on the traditional medicine, the Indian Patent Office has published guidelines on the patentability of inventions. We have also contributed to that. You can have a look at the guidelines. It gives you examples of what is patentable and what is not patentable.
Ma'am, can I have one question?
Yes.
Ma'am?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Ma'am, my name is Kushali Prabhu. I'm assistant professor in B.Ed College and I'm doing my PhD in IKS. Okay, so my question is, there are many, I mean, this is a basic question, I understand it. So my question is the traditional knowledge system, Indian knowledge, traditional, then Indian knowledge system and the indigenous knowledge system, are they all belong to the same thing or something
Traditional.
different? Are they different?
Now, we had this question even previously. So typically when we talk of traditional knowledge, it encompasses everything. It doesn't distinguish between whether it's come from India, whether it has come from, any other country, or is it from community, or is it from, the classical text and so on and so forth. Traditional knowledge is a very broad term. So when we talk of Indian traditional knowledge or the Indian knowledge system, it is very similar because we are now defining that this particular knowledge system has come from our country. So that is how it becomes a subset of the traditional knowledge per se, not a broader term. When we talk of indigenous knowledge, in India, the term that we use is local communities. We do not use the word indigenous people because of various reasons. We are all indigenous to the country in some way, but we are all communities, local communities of the country, because India as a country took shape, only after the British left. Otherwise, we had been provinces. We belong to the particular region. And so in this context, when we talk of indigenous knowledge, the indigenous knowledge is traditional knowledge belonging to a particular indigenous community or the local community, as we call it in India. It becomes a subset of the categories, traditional knowledge or the Indian knowledge systems.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Does TKDL codification and Namaste portal codes are same for citation of particular plans and their potential? Not really, because what we use is a traditional knowledge resource classification codes, which we have developed based on the international patent classification codes. What the Namaste portal will contain largely is about the ICD-11 codes, which is more of a diagnostic code for a particular disease based on what the WHO has been doing. So there are differences between the two. Can we patent traditional marriage songs which are not written in format? No, cultural expression, creative art forms cannot be patented. They are only taken copyright of. So in case it is traditional knowledge and you're trying to take a copyright, you'll have to make sure that, you are not infringing upon the rights of the people by taking copyright by your name. This is also going to amount to misappropriation. But if in case you're adding a creative element by singing in a particular way and then taking a copyright on that and not the verses per se, yes, it is copyrightable. So this is how one can take IPR rights, but not on traditional knowledge per se.
Ma'am, good evening.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, I'm Dr. Mary Chaudhary. I'm from North Lakhimpur University, Assam. Regarding your presentation on plant variety protection, I have a question that what makes India's plant varieties protection system should be unique, and how can it be unique?
It is unique because typically when you call as the UPOV, which is the General Framework for Protection of Plant Varieties, they only talk of plant varieties and the breeders, right, from a new variety perspective. Only in India, through the sui generis legal system, we have ensured that even the farmers' rights are farmers' varieties are also protected. So that is the unique aspect of our PPVFRA. So here even the land races are protected, through registry. And of course, it has to meet the DUS, that is distinctness, uniqueness, and stability and different other criteria. But this is how
Ma'am, is there any differences between the ethnobotanical medicines and ethnomedicinal plants? There is any difference and they are same?
it is all terminology. Some people call it ethnobotanical work, they call it
Medicines.
ethnomedicinal work. If they are doing some kind of validation, they call it ethnopharmacological work. But in all, it relates to folk medicines or local health practices that are done by, those knowledge holders. And somebody else is collecting that information and either creating a document out of it or trying to, do the validation and innovate further.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ma'am, namaskara. If it is possible, can you share your PPT, ma'am?
Yeah, it will all be shared. It will be put up by Dr. Piyush in the Google Drive after this session.
From where can we take that? Can you please?
In the Google Drive, you will find this PPT. Astu? In
Okay,
the
sir.
same
Thank
drive.
you. Astu.
Everything will be uploaded there.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Hello,
please.
ma'am.
Tell me.
Ma'am, you talked about the ethno-medicinal plant. But one thing in tribal areas, among the tribal communities, ethno-entomology is also prevalent. So it should be included in the, Indian knowledge system or traditional knowledge of treatment.
It depends on what is the primary category, because today we are looking at the different specializations, right? If you want to call it an ethno-entomology work, you can have a different category. Or if in case, because see, when you talk of ethno-entomology, it is not related to only medicine. It would also talk about food and nutrition and many other things as well, right? So there could be overlap and there could be distinctness on it. it depends on what is the primary information that you have collected. If it is largely focused on medicine, you could make it a subset of the ethnomedicinal work, okay? Or if in case it is distinct, you could still go ahead and call it as an ethnoentomology.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Shanti from Goa. I just wanted to know that, see, one of the ancient plays which was rewritten and then they have directed and then they have performed. So whether will that come under this the rights?
Now say that again. I did not understand your
See,
comment. Sorry.
ancient drama form, one of the play which was written by one of the famous a Malayali writer. So it has been rewritten and then the main content is the same, but the remaining everything was changed. But was it right? Because whether anyone, if the person put case against that, whether the case will be, I do not know whether it will stand or whether it will under this property rights.
In terms of the intellectual property rights, it actually doesn't they look into those sensitivities related to the cultural or spiritual identity associated with any cultural expression. I do understand that. You'll get to know more about this in the day 4 topic when I'll be speaking about the ethics related to handling and working with traditional knowledge. But having said that, I do understand your predicament. As long as it doesn't hurt the sentiments of the original creation and it is more of a creative form using those modern advancements and all that, I think that you can go for a copyright. But if in case it hurts the sentiments and it is kind of a little derogatory in its nature, that is when people file a litigation to stop such things from happening because it is hurting the sentiments of the people. A cultural identity is to be protected. So that is when other things come in. But otherwise, I think it's a free world. You look at Ramayana or Mahabharata, you will see different versions, animations, you see theater art forms and different other things. It is all, kind of acceptable to the society because it doesn't, bring down the value of a narrative. As long as it doesn't hurt the sentiments or the spiritual or cultural identity of the people, I think creative forms can, be encouraged.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nikhil Shukla.
Yes, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Nikhil Shukla here, PhD scholar from Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia Institute of Medical Sciences, Lucknow. Ma'am, it was indeed a very informative session. Ma'am, could you kindly suggest me some reputed journals with a high impact factor where we can consider publishing our work on Indian knowledge system?
There are many journals, I would not be able to, mention any particular thing, but if you look at All India Institute of Ayurveda, you look at TDU, you also look at the councils of the Ministry of Ayush, they are bringing out journals. I'm largely talking about, of course, Indian journals, considering that we need to also promote our own Indian journals. We can choose any of it. And of course, there are many other international journals also. You will have to see where the kind of research that you have done fits in the larger context of the journal. I think I'm sorry, I'm giving a very general response unless I know what research it is. It would be difficult for
Yes,
me to
ma'am.
give
No,
any
that's good.
specifics.
I just want to add there is a Journal of Indian Knowledge Systems. Recently it came. That's under Brill publication. Brill. So you can look at that journal. Journal of Indian Knowledge Systems by Brill.
Sir, Indian knowledge system after that?
Journal of Indian Knowledge Systems. Okay.
Okay.
The CSIR laboratory also has this Indian Journal of Traditional Knowledge. So I'm just giving you examples you can look up. See, what kind of results you have got, how prominent it is, and whether again, it is a choice that you will have to make whether you want to publish it in an Indian journal or a foreign journal, depending on the impact of your study.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Yeah, I think again we will take three
Dr. Ratna,
questions.
Dr. Ratna.
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I'm
Please.
Dr. Ratnanandi. I'm a librarian. I want to ask that if a library wants to document the local music and local traditional music and dance, and they record it and publish it and make it make it a part of digital library, then who should be the copyright holder of that particular music or dance form? The original performers or the library?
It's the original performers. Sometimes, the copyright can be transferred to, like when we publish research articles, we give the copyright, we transfer the copyrights to the publisher, right? So it can happen, but you will have to inform the knowledge holders, the original performers of your intent and what you want to do with the recording. You need to ensure that you have everybody on board, okay? Consenting to whatever you plan to do. And if in case you're reaping benefits out of this particular recording, you need to ensure that you share the benefits with the knowledge holders.
Okay. Benefits in terms of what?
Monetary benefits. Say if in case you're, taking a copyright, the copyright is taken generally for, ensuring also commercial rights, right? So if in case you're, licensing it to somebody or allowing somebody to license in that particular recording and then use it for their performance and you are getting some monetary benefits out of that, you need to ensure that. But if in case there are other things that you would like to do, not just monetary, you can adapt whatever or adopt whatever is mentioned under the Convention on Biological Diversity, the Nagoya Protocol. I will talk about it on day 4. I think it will give you greater clarity.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Could I request you, ma'am? Your lecture is very much useful for all of us because we are dealing the course of EKT, Essence of Knowledge and Traditions in our university, ma'am, along with our colleagues. And we need exactly any standard journals and books links could you share to us? Or any titles?
In which subject area?
EKT.
No, I'm not.
EKT, Essence of Knowledge and Traditions.
Say that again?
Essence of Knowledge and Traditions.
Oh, there is nothing like that, because it all depends on the subject area. That is what we discussed even
It's a vast
yesterday.
area. That's
Yeah,
why.
it is a vast
Any
area.
journals are there? Any specific journals?
Not specific journals, there are many because it again depends on like who I had mentioned in what Dr. Piyush had mentioned just now. A couple of things that comes to our mind is the Indian Journal of Traditional Knowledge, then you have the Indian Journal of the Journal
Yes,
of Indian Knowledge Systems and many other things. If you talk of Ayurveda, the Council of Ayurveda Research and Sciences from the Ministry of Ayush, they have their own journal. All India Institute of Ayurveda, they have brought their own journal. Unani Council will have its own journal. So it depends on, in which domain you're working and where you would want to publish your particular article. These are all the Indian journals that I'm talking about. In addition to that, you also have, journals from other countries as well.
Ma'am, another one is like curriculum of EKT. The various universities opting various types. EKT means any curriculum to frame any guidelines. Only AICT we are following, ma'am. Different universities are following different things, but AICT is the only one. What we feel is it.
That I think Dr. Piyush answered yesterday. Piyush, you want to working respond?
Yes, sir. Yes. So first of all, you have to check with the framework of Indian knowledge systems, which we are following.
Yes,
with your curriculum or subject, whatever you want. Now, coming to the guideline, UGC has circulated guidelines for curriculum development of Indian knowledge system where 5% is mandatory, as we know, last 2-3 years it's going on. So please look at that detailed guidelines. You can get help from that guidelines.
Can you please share to us during the
If you
course
just
of
click
time?
on in Google, or let me know. I'll do. Please, ma'am, carry on. I will share.
Kindly, sir, because we want to introduce some changes and other things in BOS.
Yes, please.
HOD and HOD sir asked. So if you could kindly provide us a mail or something, we'll be thankful to you, sir. We'll be indebted to you, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for such of these programs will enlighten us to the maximum limit. There's some problem in my camera of my laptop. That's why I'm unable to open it. Excuse me, sir. So this is the thing I submit, sir, about 35. My teaching experience is 33 years almost, since 1990. I'm in the field of history, culture, and archaeology, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving the opportunity.
Yes.
And we try to learn so many things.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. This is Subhashni from PSD at Krishnamal College for Women, Coimbatore. Thank you so much for giving an insightful session, ma'am. Really, it was wonderful. As per NEP, it is mandatory to include IKS in curriculum. So is there any possibility of arranging faculty development program on IKS to equip the faculty with traditional knowledge integration in the modern curriculum with collaboration with you people in the field of chemistry?
See, the FDP programs are done individually by the universities and institutions. We could serve as resource persons. That's not a problem. We could do it online because we have done it for many other universities as well. But a formal collaboration with the CSIR-TKDL unit in establishing an FDP, I don't think is possible at this point of time. But in terms of, again, FDP focused on IKS, I think I will let Dr. Piyush answer you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So we are conducting FDP last 2 years. So as you know, through UGC, we are doing FDP. So please look at their website. There is Mr. Dr. Manta Srinivasu from UGC. Please look at their website. You will get the information, and it's not open for all. Yes, it's not open for all. There is a There was a registration process that was done, and it's going on. Please look at their notification regarding FDP particularly. And in future, if we will do again, we'll inform through our website. But as so far, we have done all our FDPs through in collaboration with UGC only. Okay.
Yes,
ma'am.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
I think we'll stop now, Piyush. I think we'll
Yes.
call it a day now.
And pranam once again to all of you. And tomorrow we'll have Murthy sir sessions on Indian knowledge systems, how it is relevant and significant in modern times in a changing world. So please come tomorrow. We pranam to all of you. Let us close with Shanti Mantra.
Pranam, sir, pranam.
Thank you. Pranam, sir. Pranam.
Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukhavag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Astu ma'am, pranam. Chalo to. See you soon.
Pranam, namaste to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pranam.